Good evening. I'm Kelda Yoon. An Orangeville man is speaking out after a frightening home invasion last month. He says 6 people, including one armed with a gun, broke into his home and held him and his young daughter at gunpoint. But when he called 911 for help, he was put on hold repeatedly. Farah Morale has more.
The frantic moments not long after an armed group allegedly broke into Theo Meadows' house.
So he stuck the gun at me through this hole here, like actually put it through the broken glass.
Meadows met at our studios, still afraid to bring people into his home after what happened. That night, as the armed intruders smashed his window, he called for help.
I ran into my bedroom, grabbed my phone. That was when I called 911 for the first time. And as soon as I put the call through, I got a response, like a please hold. It was like a pre-recorded like ringtone sort of thing. So it was just, or OPP, please hold.
Meadows says he tried calling 911 twice more while the intruders were still in his home. Each time, he says, the same hold message. Meanwhile, the situation became even more frightening.
As I'm telling them where they can go to the closet to find anything valuable, my 5-year-old daughter opens her door and she comes out of her room in her nightgown, just like rubbing her eyes, and this guy takes the gun off of me and puts the gun right up to her head. It was kind of the most desperate, helpless feeling I've ever had. Like, that's kind of the only way to describe it. And the guy was standing right about here.
The whole ordeal, he says, over in minutes. Meadows says it wasn't until his 4th 911 call, after the group had left, that someone answered.
I mean, at this point, I've kind of completely given up on police response coming to help us, because it's like everything's done.
Emergency? Do you need police, ambulance, or fire?
CBC News has reported extensively on 911 wait times in the city of Toronto. Where Meadows lives is patrolled by Ontario Provincial Police, where 911 calls go to 4 call centres province-wide.
In a statement, the OPP said it couldn't comment on this case as it's an active investigation. When it comes to call centre staffing, it also wouldn't say anything, citing officer and public safety purposes. But it maintains that of the more than 1 million 911 calls it received last year, 75% were answered within 14 seconds. This advocate says 911 call center staffing remains a problem countrywide.
If we don't sort of take that step and start investing in our public safety communicators, the problem that you're seeing in parts of Ontario, it's not going to get better. And it's probably going to get worse.
While they were breaking in, there's my daughter's chalk set and sandcastle toys.
Meadows says he's sharing his story to push for changes to the service.
All I know is that on the worst day of my life, it didn't work at all.
Farah Morale, CBC News, Toronto.
A high school in Etobicoke was put in lockdown this afternoon after reports there were 2 people with a gun inside the school. Police saying tonight they did find evidence of a firearm discharge in the stairwell.
The school was placed in lockdown as at the time there were approximately 120 people inside the school. 60 involved with a basketball game and 60 preparing for what was supposed to be an open house that was supposed to be taking place tonight. At this time, we have representatives of our caring and safe schools in the school prepared to deal with anything tomorrow.
There are no reports of any injuries, and police don't have any suspect descriptions at this time. The Toronto Police Guns and Gangs Unit has taken over the investigation. We're learning more tonight about the woman killed in a shooting in the East End on Sunday. 34-year-old Alicia Brooks was an outreach worker who helped children and families navigate the welfare system. CBC Toronto has also learned the man accused of killing her is her former partner, who was out on statutory release from prison at the time of the shooting. Dale Manukduk has more.
34-year-old Alicia Brooks is being remembered for her dedication to helping others.
And she was able to take a lot of disturbing, traumatic life experiences and turn it around to help others and empower others.
Brooks was killed Sunday night. She was found outside of a home along Jones Avenue near the Danforth.
And it just really came out of nowhere. And I had just seen Alicia less than a week ago. And Alicia has a lot of energy and spunk and determination. She's like a firecracker, and I'm speaking in the present because it's very difficult to think about her in the past.
Brooks was an outreach worker at the Parkdale Queen West Community Health Center. She was involved with a Black Youth Mentorship Program, helping people in and transitioning out of the child welfare system.
You know, the word that comes to mind is effervescence. For Alicia, she was quite dynamic in her ability to engage young people who had shared similar experience as her, but also somebody who brought lots of hopefulness for those young people.
Meanwhile, the Correctional Service of Canada says it's investigating Brooks's murder. CSC confirms the shooting happened at a halfway home on Jones Avenue. A 33-year-old Toronto man, Aaron Shea, has been charged with first-degree murder. Shea was serving a 3-year and 1-month sentence for assault, possession of a weapon, and break-and-enter. Toronto police confirmed Shea and Brooks were involved in a domestic relationship. An online fundraiser was launched by Brooks's mother to help with funeral costs and financial support for the child she leaves behind. Brooks's mother says people will miss Alicia's laugh, but her friends and family will miss her every second of every day. A memorial for her is being held Wednesday night. Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
York Regional Police have made some big arrests in an alleged home invasion ring. The almost year-long investigation is dubbed Project Skyfall. But as Ali Chiasson reports, despite the arrest, police say the suspects could reoffend.
911, do you require police, fire, ambulance?
Hi, somebody just came into our house and tried to rob us and threaten us.
Project Skyfall started with this home invasion in Vaughan on Christmas Eve.
That's all I have.
Thanks to this 911 call, police made an arrest on scene.
Come out with your hands out! Come out with your hands out!
This one incident led investigators to unravel a much larger organized crime ring. Now, nearly a year later, York Regional Police announced the results of Project Skyfall.
We have now arrested 17 suspects that made up this complex group. We have laid a total of 83 charges related to these heinous and violent crimes.
They seized guns and about $14 million worth of drugs sold as oxycodone and MDMA. Some of the suspects came from other parts of the country to commit crimes here.
One of the offenders that's been arrested, it's alleged that he removed his GPS ankle bracelet. He was on bail conditions out west, and he ended up in the GTA.
Even a suspect vehicle.
That black sedan had been obtained during an armed carjacking in Calgary shortly before our home invasion in Vaughan.
One of the accused worked for the Ministry of Transportation. Police alleged they used intel from work to aid in their crimes.
We're working with our partners at the Ministry of Transportation. What I can tell you is that we're confident that there is no further information being accessed by those offenders at this time.
Investigators say Project Skyfall highlights the need for bail reform. In that Christmas Eve home invasion, for example.
Most concerning for me was that 3 of those individuals were out on a total of 8 firearm prohibitions. So they've already been involved in this type of activity before.
Police say of the 17 people arrested in connection to the home invasions and drug trafficking in this latest case, 7 of the accused are already out on bail. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
Assault charges against a Toronto man arrested at a pro-Palestinian protest last December have been withdrawn. Adam Melanson spoke outside of court today saying police used excessive force on him. He says his wife was knocked to the ground by an officer, and when he tried to intervene, he was apprehended. And a warning, we're about to show you footage of the incident that viewers may find disturbing.
A senior officer slammed his knee on my head, which knocked my glasses off. Video captured him stomping on my glasses. He hit my head again and again and again against the pavement. Another officer repeatedly punched my rib area. The whole time, I was screaming with pain. When I felt the officer's knee on my neck, I thought I was going to die.
Multiple videos captured by bystanders show Melanson pinned to the ground by an officer using their knee. The police say in the lead up to the assault, an officer was traveling southbound on University Avenue before Melanson pushed the officer off their bike. In a statement to CBC Toronto, Toronto police say the Crown withdrew the charges after Melanson fulfilled specific conditions outlined by the Crown. Those included completion of a course in nonviolent communication, a donation to charity, and community service. The operator of a Toronto safe consumption site wants to take the Ford government to court. The neighborhood group, which operates the site in Kensington Market, announced today it will be launching a legal challenge against the province's recent bill that will force it to close. Lane Harrison has those details.
Those of us that use the sites do not have a death wish, as some may think. We want to live.
Katie Resendez is a safe consumption site user who visits the one in Kensington Market a few times a week. She's one of the applicants in a legal challenge the site's operator, the neighborhood group, is bringing against the province to fight legislation that would close it and 9 other sites for being too close to daycares or schools.
I've been a high-functioning addict or substance user for, the last 16 years, and I've been able to work and maintain a job, and a lot of that has to do with safe consumption sites.
The legal challenge filed against the province argues the legislation violates multiple sections of the charter. For example, the lawyers behind it say the increased risk of death drug users will face violates their right to life under Section 7.
The law also violates Section 12 of the charter. That part of the charter protects Canadians from cruel and unusual punishment, and that's what this act is. It is cruel and unusual punishment.
The act to close the sites was brought forward by Ontario's Solicitor General, who repeated talking points about the sites leading to public drug use.
Use of illegal substances in our parks, that's not right. Our parks are for our kids and for our families.
Last week, a report from the Auditor General said the Health Ministry recognizes internally that closing the sites will lead to increased public drug use and an increase of discarded needles in public.
This will have the opposite effect of what they're saying they're trying to achieve, because when you close safe consumption sites, the entire neighborhood becomes an unsafe consumption site.
Asked about the legal challenge this morning, the Premier said he was unaware of it, but he spoke generally about his government's approach to addiction Monday.
We're putting another $360 million in to make sure that we have the hubs that take care of people, not just feed them drugs, but make sure they have shelter, they have employment, make sure we have detox beds for them.
But those with first-hand experience say an abstinence-based treatment model won't work.
If you're not ready, you're not ready. And what these safe consumption sites allow is for those of us that are not ready to be safe.
Lane Harrison, CBC News, Toronto.
A Canadian who pioneered research into artificial intelligence was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics today. Geoffrey Hinton is Professor Emeritus at the University of Toronto. Ithel Musa was at the school for today's celebration.
Referred to as the godfather of artificial intelligence, British-Canadian scientist Geoffrey Hinton was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics today, alongside co-laureate John Hopfield in Stockholm. Here at the University of Toronto, where Hinton once taught, admirers cheered.
We should take every opportunity we have to celebrate great Canadians, especially these times, right? There's a lot of bad news out there.
Aswani Pulipaka's family took the day off to celebrate Hinton's groundbreaking research that helped shape AI.
AI is very cool because it's like another human who kind of knows the future.
On behalf of the royal... It's an achievement Hinton admits he never could have predicted, but he says getting here took a lot of perseverance.
This is the result of 50 years ago, having an idea of a problem that needed to be solved and just sticking with it for 50 years. Even though most people in the field of AI and computer science said that what we were doing was nonsense.
Last year, Hinton left his role at Google so he could speak more openly about the dangers of AI.
I think there's a chance they'll take control, and it's a significant chance. It's not like 1%, it's much more.
It's something this former colleague recognizes, alongside the potential benefits of Hinton's research into machine learning.
All powerful things are amplifiers, but it's what they amplify that matters. And so they can amplify great good, for example, medical treatment, but they could also be used for bad things, such as autonomous weapons.
Half of Hinton's share of the prize money will go towards boosting Indigenous access to water. Ithel Musa, CBC News, Toronto.
Welcome back. A Toronto lawyer has launched a proposed class action lawsuit against 14 Canadian landlords and property managers. It's over their alleged use of AI software called YieldStar to help set their rents. Now, the reach is wide, possibly impacting tens of thousands of Canadians. Anya Zolojewski has been following the story. She spoke to our Dwight Drummond earlier.
News about YieldStar has been heating up as more information around its alleged use here in Canada has come out. And I want to note that CBC found evidence that YieldStar has been used here since at least 2017. So fast forward to this year, and Adam Tinnell, a Toronto-based lawyer, began looking into the use of YieldStar in Canada after the FBI started investigating the software in the US. So that investigation ultimately led to a Department of Justice suit against YieldStar's parent company, RealPage. And like that DOJ suit, Tinnell alleges that YieldStar allowed landlords to conspire with each other and artificially inflate rents across the country. The suit is proposed, and because it hasn't been certified yet, but Tinnell is pursuing a class action on behalf of tenants across Canada, and it's against 14 landlords and property management companies who allegedly used and benefited from the software.
So, Anya, what do we know about YieldStar?
Yeah, so its parent company RealPage refers to the program as an AI revenue management price optimization tool. If we break it down, the point is to help landlords set rent prices across their properties. And the software uses a lot of data to suggest rental rates, but some of that data is private and proprietary according to the Department of Justice and now this new proposed class action suit here in Canada. So it's not data that would normally be shared with or between competitors. And so the suit and the DOJ allege that use of YieldStar undermines fair competition. Take a listen to what the DOJ said in August.
Americans should not have to pay more in rent simply because a company has found a new way to scheme with landlords to break the law.
In a statement, RealPage, YieldStar's parent company, told CBC News that its software was designed to operate legally and that it will vigorously defend itself. Tinnell has also named RealPage in the proposed class action here in Canada. He says he wants to fight for financial compensation for their tenants and for this.
We cannot use the lawsuit to have the court ban the software. What we can do and what we're trying to do is to make the use of the software no longer profitable, so it's never used again.
We reached out to all 14 companies named in the suit, and we didn't hear back from all of them, but we did get a range of responses. Some are denying some are denying using the software at all. Others have told us that they terminated use of the software previously, and one said it wouldn't comment on a matter before the courts.
So, Anya, what are Canadian tenants now hoping for?
We've spoken to several. Cynthia Black is the proposed suit's main plaintiff and has been vocal about her concerns for months. In fact, she was part of a group of tenants who had previously tipped off the Competition Bureau, even hand-delivering 100 complaints demanding an investigation into the use of YieldStar here in Canada. She says she wants to see an end to the use of software like this in Canada.
I think YieldStar and any other pricing algorithm like it should be banned. I think there should be an investigation into its use in Canada. I think every single landlord who has been using it should be held accountable for the consequences that YieldStar has had on people like me, my neighbors, and everyone across Canada who's been affected by this.
After we started looking into this story, the federal government faced renewed calls to investigate, and they ultimately confirmed that they'd get the Competition Bureau to do that. The Bureau itself hasn't confirmed to us yet whether an investigation is taking place.
And you can watch the full story available now on the National's YouTube channel. It's called Who Owns Canada's Rental Market? All right, Colette joins me now with more on the forecast. And Colette, the fog seems to be the story of the day, right?
Yeah, fog has been a problem. So we're seeing these kind of weather phenomena, some that have to do with the mild conditions and some that have to do with cooling or that in between. And then we're going to get into, I've got it all for you tonight, folks, some of the Arctic air and what the problems will be that's going to pose. So let's start off, though, with the fog and that advisory. These are just a few of the communities being impacted. Obviously, London also into that dense fog. fog advisory. Areas where it improved doesn't mean it's necessarily gone, because then it kind of fills back in. So that extends into eastern Ontario. We do have some of those periods of rain kind of tapering off and a bit of a lull through the overnight, not in eastern Ontario, but into the GTA and southwestern Ontario, just that cloud cover, lighter showers or drizzle. And then as we get through the day on Wednesday, as we get some cooler air that will be filtering in, that changes things over to some flurries or a little bit of a light mix, while rain continues in eastern Ontario. So they have a rainfall warning. There's even some freezing rain warnings towards the nation's capital at Kingston area. It's 30 to perhaps up to 40 millimeters of rain. But watch what happens here. I'm going to advance this again. The winds get strong Wednesday night into Thursday, and see those very distinct lines of snow, those snow squalls returning, including in areas around the Bruce Peninsula, Snowbelt towards Cottage Country, the lee of Georgian Bay. So we're going to see that all coming back in with that Arctic air. The wind's not very strong early in the day tomorrow. Then they begin to really pick up and drive Wednesday into Thursday. Some of those gusts certainly exceeding 50 kilometers an hour, could even exceed 60. There's some of that heavier rain for eastern Ontario. For the GTA, it's negligible, 4 to maybe 5 or 6 millimeters, and only a few millimeters possible for southwestern Ontario. But there's the snowfall potential once, this is Thursday, those squalls get going. Look at those areas, the dark blue, that's over 20 centimeters of snow coming right back around, Huntsville, Parry Sound, Bracebridge, Gravenhurst, those regions, but also for the ski hills as well. So already there is a snow squall watch from Environment Canada for those regions because of what we know will be coming. Overnight temperatures, we will find, it was 10 degrees again today in Windsor. We'll find that temperature slipping down to 0. And then for Toronto, the colder air comes in Wednesday night into Thursday. By Friday morning, it will feel with the winds like about minus 15.
Oh, that is chilly. Oh, I'll need my winter jacket again. All right, thanks so much, Colette. And that's all the time we have tonight. Have a great night, everyone.